are hoping to get a Reading fan on the phone quite soon, but let's take a look at the Championship and one of the teams that were relegated from the Premiership last year. Fulham. Look at that long smile. 2 defeats already, one at home to Millwall, who are certainly not even promotion candidates. What's happening, Yusuf?
It's not all bad. I think
it's not all bad, is it?
I think a lot of people will look at it and see that's 2 games, we've lost 2, and surely we are going in completely the wrong direction. But I think what people forget is 20 players have gone. We've brought in, I think, 16 new players. We're trying to embed some of the youth into the team, and I think we need at least 9 to 10 games just to get that team to gel. I think McGath doesn't even know his starting 11 yet. He's tinkering with so much that I think it's inevitable that the first 5-6 games we may lose more than we'll win. But I think once we get going, once McCormack starts scoring, I think we'll be all right. I think we'll... Is
this a problem with teams that go down, though? Because last year, I mean, Wigan were very similar in as much that they took a long time. They almost made it. I mean, obviously, they didn't quite get past QPR. But they struggled at the start. We've had teams like Bolton struggle at the start and improve. Do you think Yusuf's point's correct? If they change 20 players, it's going to be like 6 or 7 games before Fulham start winning the game, or do you think it'll take a bit longer?
Yeah, absolutely. At the very least, 6 or 7 games. You probably want at least 10 or 15. I think you... I don't know if you read McGaff's comments in the programme, but the main thing was patience. Please be patient. What we're doing here is incredibly ambitious, but it's incredibly creditable. We're investing massively in the academy. We're not just building a team for this year. We're building it potentially to be a very solid Premier League team in 3 years' time. Potentially, hovering around Europe. But the question is, are Fulham fans going to be patient on that? I read a little stat beforehand coming on today. Apparently, Fulham haven't had a manager that's stayed in the job for more than 4 years since the 60s. So they need... I mean, that plan sounds like at least a 4-year plan. So
he's only born in the noughties. He wouldn't know this.
Yeah. So
the longest serving manager must have been the permanent one, Keegan.
Kind of a while back, isn't it?
Tagana, maybe.
But do you accept that philosophy and that plan and accept that it might be incredibly difficult to go out this season?
I think, yeah, when we went down, I expected us to kind of dominate the Championship, beat every team and go up on 150 points or something stupid. But looking at the other teams and seeing the way they play and the fact that we've had so many changes, I think that was a bit too optimistic. I think if we can finish in the top half and then build on that next season, I think that'll be a good season for us. But I do like McGath in terms of that he writes open letters to Fulham fans every single week.
Oh, that's fantastic. So that's not winning the game, but that's what open letters.
But at the same time, at least we know what's going on. We feel like we're a part of that team as well, so at least we can see what he's trying to do rather than just sitting from the stands and thinking, well, we've lost 2 games, where is this going? But in both games, we've had over 65% possession. Just can't put chances away. I think that's our problem. So we need our strikers.
You're obviously missing a striker then.
Well, no, we've signed Ross McCormack for 11 million.
Yeah, but he's on the bench. He's on the bench.
He just needs a bit of fitness, I think. And I think Hugo Rodallega has the potential to be a good Championship striker, but so he just needs to pull his finger out. Sometimes I just wonder if he's on the same pitch as the one I'm watching, because he's just 5 yards behind the play.
So and the Berbatov and Adebayor school of thought, isn't he?
But at least they had quality, so when they did get the ball, they did something. He gets the ball and just looks lost.
Is there any I was surprised when we went down that Joey Barton was the one that stayed. Is there any player in your mind that's left that you think that you really don't rate now because they're left because you've gone down? Or do you accept that look, they're going on the pastures during the Premiership? Or do you feel like they could have at least given us one more season in the Championship?
A few of them. I think when you look at the likes of Mitroglou, who we signed in January, and he's looking for a way out already, and he hasn't even played full 90 minutes for us, and he's already trying to leave the club. But I think other than that, I think a lot of our players were aging. We did need a shake-up of the squad. And I don't begrudge the likes of Hangeland.
Thank you.
I'm so glad he went to Palace and not QPR, because he was linked with QPR.
Yeah.
But I think they want to end their career, like Steve Sidwell, they want to end their careers in the Premier League, so I don't begrudge them that move. And judging by what McGath has said, he wanted them off the wage books anyway, so I don't think they had much of a choice.
And do you think the way forward now is, because they've got a great academy at Fulham, that's, joking apart, they've got a very good academy there. Do you see him as the manager to take those players and nurture them forward?
Hopefully. He seems to have a lot of faith in them, and I think that's a good thing. I think they're getting a lot more game time. They will do over the next year. I think when prior to him coming in with Martin Jol and the whole Meulenstein fiasco, I think the fans were crying out to try some of the talent that we've got in our academy. And I think McGaff's very, very happy to do that. And I think if you watch anything of Patrick Roberts, he is a future England star.
So now,
he won't be at Fulham for much longer.
So now your big London derbies have gone and your Chelsea and your QPR, you're now looking forward to the likes of Charlton.
The bigger London derbies, Fulham Brentford.
The bigger London derbies.
We've got them in the cup next week.
Yeah,
there's some good games down there. I think we had Millwall at the weekend. The games come thick and fast, and I think obviously we miss the highs of the Premier League, but at the same time, hopefully we'll win a few more games.
I mean, I know being a QPR fan that we've suffered bouncing up and down, and Championship. I much prefer the Championship. You know, as a QPR fan,
you won some games.
Well, absolutely. But I mean, the Premiership, you know, two teams can probably win it, maybe three at a push. Everyone's playing for places. I always look at it from this point of view. Look, if you're in the Premiership, your objective is to stay up. And what is the great philosophy in football in that? Just to, you know, to finish fourth from bottom. QPR's ambition this year is to finish fourth from bottom, and likewise with Burnley and Leicester, the teams that went up. When in the Championship, everyone beats each other, and we're going to talk about AFC in a minute. But the lower outside of the Premiership, it in a way, it's your team can beat anyone.
It's a dogfight, massively.
Yeah.
Like.
But then you read an article saying Fulham now will be treated as the team to beat. Was it you that read the paper?
Yeah, well, Scott Parker was quoted in the evening paper saying that they had a team to beat, and two teams have already beaten them.
This is a team that 4 years ago were in a European Cup final, so we are the team to beat in that league. And I think I'd prefer to be in the Premier League. I mean, as a QPR fan, would you not prefer to be playing the likes of Chelsea, Man City? And say you beat Chelsea at home this season, would you not take that and a 17th place finish over winning the Championship?
I'd like to get the view from QPR fans and Burnley fans. Would you prefer to be in the Championship? Personally, I wish them all would score that goal at Wembley, but we still stayed in the Championship, which is one of those funny feelings. As you know, after the euphoria of winning at Wembley, it's now a realisation that now we're going to probably struggle.
Glory's out of your reach.
Well, absolutely.
12 months,
but in the Championship, every team, I mean, look at Burnley last year. If you supported Burnley, you'd be favourites to go down. But the objective is they went up, and every team in that league, I mean, the league will take shape after 10 games. But you wouldn't, unless you're Blackpool, you wouldn't feel out of place, or Huddersfield, you wouldn't feel that your chances are undermined in any way. You'd fancy your chances of going up. I mean, we had Jonathan in. He thinks Forest are going to win the Championship. He's deluded.
I think Forest have got a great chance of winning it.
Why?
Pearce is back, and I think he's going to instill some belief in that team. I think they've got some good signings that have come through. The first game of the season, which they had won. I think Pearce, he's a proven coach. He's done it at all levels in regards to as a player, but also managing an England under-21 team and being a part of the England setup. He knows what he needs to do, and I think he's too big of a character to let anything slip. And he'd probably get more of an opportunity in the Championship with Forest than if he did go to, say, a Palace in the Premiership and trying to maintain a team to stay up than being in the Championship where there's drive to actually either be in the playoffs or winning the actual league.
I quite like the idea of Norwich winning the Championship. Anyone?
Why?
I just think that they've got
retain a lot of their players.
Absolutely.
Well, you're about to take.
Fulham lost 20 players. Norwich have kept most of theirs.
But that's because their squad, it wasn't good enough to begin with. So if it wasn't good enough for the Premier League, what's the point in keeping that same squad? It'll go back up, and they'll be exactly.
Well, then that's the point where they might spend.
Once you go back up again, then you can reinvest because you've got the opportunity to learn from your mistakes.
But then you're starting the Premier League with a practically new team, and then you make the mistake of signing too many, trying to embed them in the Premier League. Before you know it's Christmas and you're 15 points adrift at the bottom because your team hasn't gelled. I think the Championship is the league to build, and then you add a little bit of quality to that when you move up to the Premier League. But you've got to stick with the guys that got you up. I think they should be given the chance.
In terms of Championship candidates, who do you see? It's a difficult one, isn't it? Because it's so early in the season. But who do you look at and think, right, they're going to be up there towards the end of the season? Because I mean, Wigan have disappointed at the start. I would have thought Wigan, they lost to Charlton on the weekend. But is there any, one that stands out for you?
Quite like to see Derby. Even as a QPR fan, you must admit they're incredibly unfortunate in the playoff final. They're easy on the eye. They play the ball on the ground. They've got youth as well. You kind of feel like looking at them, if they did go up and just added a few more sort of experienced Premier League players, they wouldn't necessarily go immediately down, and that's kind of who I look for.
It'd be a great
teams
reverse
to
for
go
Steve
up.
McLaren as well, and he was unfortunate. I mean, it was the most one-sided second half of football ever, but you know,
Zamora popped up.
Yeah, you take that. But I mean, Derby County, in your eyes, you think they'll be the ones and Forest as well?
I don't know if Derby have got enough to actually be in those top 2 automatic places, but I definitely think they'll be in and around the playoffs and pushing. I favourite Forest to win it, as I've just said, and Norwich maybe as a close second, but Derby I just don't think have got enough to maintain, but I think they definitely playoffs is the limit for them, or that should be the
you haven't
base.
even mentioned the likes of Cardiff, Wigan. Wigan have quite a good squad as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think with Rosler as manager,
Yeah,
I expect quite big things from them this
they lost
season.
to Charlton.
Yeah,
They
haven't
early
had-
doors, I guess.
And they drew their opening game with Reading as well, so they
Yeah.
haven't had the best start.
And
but
Cardiff again would be candidates to go back up.
Yeah,
You'd have to say so.
playoff fodder.
Yeah, I'd say playoffs, but I wouldn't
I mean,
think
they
they'd
kept
get up
Cameron
to Manchester.
Jones up front for
he'll be
Cardiff,
a
haven't
top
they?
striker this
I think he
season.
will at that level. I think he will be.
I think he scored like
He's
4
already
in his
got a couple
first,
of
or
goals.
3 in his first 2, or something
Yeah.
like that. Yeah.
Oh wow, should probably pick up about 20. You think?
Yeah.
So going back to Fulham then, what are the fans thinking now? I mean, obviously you were thinking before we're going to win. What are you hoping for?
It's very split, the Fulham supporters. It seems after Pulis left Palace, I overheard a Fulham at the game on Saturday. I overheard a Fulham fan saying, "I hope we lose today. I hope we lose Wolves Wednesday, lose against Blackburn at the weekend, and then take Pulis. Get rid of McGaff and get Pulis in because he's guaranteed to get us back up."
Have you got enough money though?
But I think that's
don't think
that's ridiculous.
Pulis
I
wants some
think that
money.
is ridiculous.
I think that is.
Like,
I think that is ridiculous. Thinking Pulis would go to a championship.
How
I
Fulham-
think he's a Premiership.
On a separate note, how are
manager.
Fulham filling up their neutral end now? Because
It-
before it was underground, and you know, on the underground, come to visit Fulham, and you had all kinds of people turn up the neutral end. How's the neutral end looking
Well,
this year?
at the weekend, it was all Millwall. It's like it turns into a cup game. It's
Yeah.
like they get the whole Putney end and the noise that the away team can make. It's not nice to watch when we're being completely outsung by 4,000 Millwall fans because they've taken up the whole end. And I just don't think we're not creating the right atmosphere for home games by having a neutral end. We're the only club in the Football League to have a neutral
What's the logic behind that then? What's the reasoning?
Because they can't
Right.
fill it.
Because, yeah, basically.
Just
Yeah.
financially, they just had to do it.
Yeah, I mean the Premiership. But
It
saying
was
that,
same in the Premier League. We have
Really?
the neutral end, yeah.
because you couldn't fill it, and it is full of away fans.
You
It
need some
pretty
Fulham
much
ultras.
is.
You need to get some
But
like, ex-Lazio
yeah.
fans in.
But you do end up, if you go and sit in the neutral end, you could, if we're playing Chelsea, you could end up sitting next to a Chelsea fan. I think it's not wise to.
How
to
do
have
we
that.
feel about the neutral end for Wimbledon?
Neutral.
it is probably a ridiculous thing to have at a football ground.
It's like you've
you
got a
said that,
home
didn't you?
team, you've got an away team. That's pretty much it.
But they were trying to attract the tourists.
Yeah, and the fact that we're this lovely little club by the river that you can come down and
get a photo with Michael
watch
Jackson
a
outside.
game. That's gone,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
gone now. But I think it was just a way of trying to bring in like extra supporters, but I don't agree with it at all.
I was going to say it was
Thank you.
potentially a nice environment for sort of a younger audience and families and that, but then if you've got Millwall fans next to you,
Yeah.
it's-
not necessarily.
I mean, Millwall. I mean, very quickly, Ian Holloway's gone to Millwall. You said it's Fulham had 60-odd% of the possession. Were Millwall unlucky because they've won 2 now?
They played okay. It was quite a dogged performance. They got a point tonight as well, so they're doing all right. 3 unbeaten. But really, I think if that game had come 3 months down the line, we would have won that game quite comfortably.
So, you're going to bring anyone in before transfer deadline day? Ruiz is going to go to Werder Bremen, I would imagine. You're going to bring anyone in?
Ruiz is all but done
Ruiz.
to Bremen. I think Mitroglu's looking to get out as quickly as possible. I think we need a goalkeeper because we just don't have one. We've got 2 young guys. We sold Stockdale to Brighton, which I couldn't understand, and then Stekelenburg's gone to Monaco on loan. So I think we should go after Boric, the Southampton keeper.
What's Shaw to do? Where's he gone?
He's Chelsea.
He's at
Didn't
Chelsea.
they let go of him?
No, he's number 3 to Cortez.
Yeah, he
and,
got a
Czech.
year's
Get him,
extension.
snap him up.
Okay.
We don't
well,
want him back.
I mean, that's enough of Fulham. I mean, I'm absolutely delighted Fulham have started the way they have been a QPR fan. Maybe we'll get some Fulham fans saying they're going to be champions of the Championship. I doubt it very much. After the break, we hope to speak to a Reading fan and talk to them about the start of the season.